When billionaire Elon Musk returned to his old high school for a routine speaking engagement, he never expected to find Henry Chen still mopping the same floors at 80 years old. What Elon discovered next would shake him to his core and lead to the most extraordinary act of gratitude the world has ever seen. This is the true story of how a janitor's impossible sacrifice created a space empire, and how love found its way home after 38 years of heartbreak. The black Tesla Model S rolled quietly into the parking lot of Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. October rain spotted the windshield as Elon Musk turned off the engine. He sat for a moment, staring at the red brick building that looked exactly the same as it did 37 years ago. He was here to give a talk about Mars, about rockets and dreams, and the future of humanity. But something felt different today. Something pulled at his chest like an old memory trying to wake up. Students hurried past his car, backpacks bouncing, phones buzzing. They had no idea they were walking next to one of the richest men in the world. To them, he was just another visitor in an expensive car. Elon stepped out and breathed the cool Canadian air. It smelled like wet leaves and chalk dust, like being 17 again. The hallways inside were narrow and bright. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Lockers lined the walls like metal soldiers. His footsteps echoed on floors that were polished to a shine. This was where it all started, where bullies pushed him downstairs, where teachers called him a dreamer, where he spent lunch breaks alone, reading books about space while other kids played games. He was walking toward the main office when he heard it, a sound that stopped him cold. Squeak, squeak, squeaked out the wheels of a mop bucket rolling down the hallway. Elon turned around. An old man in blue work clothes was pushing a yellow cart. His back was bent like a question mark. His hair was white as snow. His hands shook as they gripped the mop handle. But those eyes, kind eyes that had seen everything, patient eyes that never judged. Alan's heart started beating faster. "Mr. Chen," he called out. His voice cracked like a teenager's. The old man looked up from his mop. His wrinkled face broke into a smile that could light up the whole school. "Elon, my goodness, is that really you?" Henry Chen was 80 years old now. He had been cleaning these same hallways for 45 years. He started when Elon Musk was just 12 years old and getting beat up every single day. Back then, Mr. Chen would find Elon hiding in empty classrooms. The boy would be reading books about rockets while nursing a black eye or split lip. Mr. Chen never asked him many questions. He just listened. "What are you still doing here?" Elon asked. His throat felt tight. Chen laughed, but it turned into a cough. "Someone has to keep this place clean for the smart kids like you were." But Elon noticed things Mr. Chen didn't say. The way he winced when he bent over, the medicine bottles peeking out of his shirt pocket, the worn-out shoes that probably hurt his feet every step of the day. "I heard you made it big," Mr. Chen said proudly. "Rockets and cars, just like you always talked about." "I got lucky," Elon said quietly. "Lucky?" Mr. Chen shook his head. "That wasn't luck, son. That was hard work and big dreams. I always knew you'd do something special." Elon looked around the empty hallway, at the lockers where bullies used to slam his head, at the water fountain where kids would splash him with dirty water, at the stairs where someone once threw him down so hard he couldn't walk for a week. "Do you remember the day those boys hurt me really bad?" Elon asked. Chen's smile faded. "March 15th, 1988. You had a broken nose and two black eyes, blood all over your shirt. The principal wanted to call your parents." Elon was surprised Mr. Chen remembered the exact date. "You found me in your closet, crying." "You weren't just crying about the bullies," Mr. Chen said softly. "You were crying because you thought you'd never be smart enough to build rockets." That day changed everything. Mr. Chen didn't just clean up Ellen's blood. He sat with him for 2 hours. He listened to a scared 17-year-old boy talk about going to Mars someday. Most adults would have told him to be realistic. Mr. Chen told him to dream bigger. "I told you that janitors see everything," Mr. Chen said. "We see which kids give up and which ones keep fighting. You were always a fighter, Elon." "I should have stayed in touch," Elon said. "I should have." "You were busy changing the world," Mr. Chen interrupted. "That's what I wanted for you." But there was something in Mr. Chen's eyes, something he wasn't saying, a secret that had been buried for 37 years. Elon felt it too. A mystery hanging in the air like dust in sunlight. "Mr. Chen," he said, slowly, "there's something I need to ask you." The old man's hands tightened on the mop handle. "What's that, son?" But before Elon could speak, the school bell rang. Students poured into the hallway like water through a dam. In seconds, they were surrounded by noise and chaos. Mr. Chen smiled and started pushing his cart away. "I better get back to work. These floors won't clean themselves." "Wait," Elon called after him. "Can we talk? Really talk?" Mr. Chen stopped and looked back. For just a moment, his mask slipped. Elon saw something in those kind eyes that made his stomach flip. Pain, regret, and something else, love. That's what Elon saw in Henry Chen's eyes as the old man walked away. Love that had waited 37 years to be understood. Elon forgot all about his Mars presentation. He forgot about the reporters waiting for him. He forgot about everything except the bent figure pushing a mop cart down the hallway. Double quotes Mr. Chen. "Wait," he called out. The old man stopped. Students flowed around them like water around rocks in a stream. "I'm canceling my talk," Elon said. "Can we sit somewhere and catch up?" Henry's eyes went wide. "You can't cancel. All those important people came to hear you speak. The most important person is standing right here," Elon said. They walked to the empty cafeteria, the same cafeteria where Elon used to eat lunch alone, where bullies would steal his food and dump milk on his head, where he dreamed of building rockets while other kids laughed at him. Henry parked his cart by the door. They sat at a plastic table near the windows. Rain streaked the glass like tears. "Coffee?" Henry asked, pointing to the vending machine. "Sure." Henry fed quarters into the machine. His hands shook as he pressed the buttons. The coffee came out black and bitter, but it was warm. "Do you remember the day those boys threw me down the stairs?" Elon asked. Henry's face grew serious. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "March 15th, 1988. You had a broken nose and two black eyes. The principal wanted to call your parents, but you begged him not to." Elon was amazed. "How do you remember the exact date?" "Some days you never forget," Henry said softly. "That was one of them. You found me crying in your closet." "You weren't just crying about the bullies," Henry said. "You were crying because you thought you'd never be smart enough to build rockets. You said your dreams were too big for a kid like you." That day changed everything. After the principal left, Henry had taken Elon to his tiny office. Really just a closet with a desk and chair. Elon sat on the floor, holding ice to his nose, while Henry listened. "Most adults would have told me to be realistic," Elon said now. "You told me to dream bigger." Henry smiled. "I told you that janitors see everything. We see which kids give up and which ones keep fighting. You were a fighter, Elon, even when you were bleeding." But there was something Henry wasn't telling him, something he'd hidden for decades. After school that day in 1988, Henry had gone home to his tiny apartment. His wife Linda was in bed, pale and weak from cancer treatments. The doctors said she had maybe weeks to live. Medical bills covered their kitchen table like snow. Their insurance barely paid for anything. Henry worked double shifts at the school, but it wasn't enough. The medicine Linda needed cost more money than they had ever seen. Henry had been saving for months, working extra jobs, skipping meals. He had $847 in a coffee can under their bed. It was supposed to buy Linda's next round of treatment, the treatment that might save her life. But that night, looking at Linda's sleeping face, Henry made a choice that would haunt him forever. He took the money out of the can, all of it, $847 in crumpled bills. He put it in an envelope with a note, "For your rocket dreams. From someone who believes in you." The next morning, Elon found the envelope in his locker. He never knew who put it there. The money helped him buy books about engineering and physics. Those books helped him get into college. College led to PayPal. PayPal led to Tesla and SpaceX. Henry never told anyone about the money, not even Linda. 3 weeks later, Linda died because they couldn't afford her medicine. "I should have done more for you back then," Henry said now, his voice barely a whisper. "You did everything," Elon replied, not knowing the truth. "You listened when no one else would. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." Henry's eyes filled with tears. "You were just a kid with big dreams. You deserved a chance. What about you? Elon asked. What were your dreams? Henry was quiet for a long time. He stared out the window at the rain. I wanted to be a teacher, he said finally. I wanted to help kids learn and grow, but I never finished college. My family needed money, so I took this job. 45 years of mopping floors. You did teach, Elon said. You taught me the most important lesson of all. What's that? That kindness is more powerful than cruelty. That one person believing in you can change everything. Henry wiped his eyes with his sleeve. I followed your career. You know, every rocket launch, every new Tesla model. Every time you were on the news, I felt so proud. Ellen's throat got tight. Really? I have a scrapbook at home, pictures and articles about everything you've done. I show it to all the kids who come through here feeling lost. What do you tell them? I tell them about a boy who got beat up every day but never stopped dreaming. I tell them that rockets start in your heart before they reach the stars. They sat in comfortable silence, drinking bad coffee and watching the rain. Two men from different worlds, connected by a moment of kindness 37 years ago. Mr. Chen, Elon said finally. Can I ask you something personal? Of course. Are you happy? I mean, really happy? Henry thought about the question, about Linda, gone for 37 years, about living alone in a tiny apartment, about bills he could barely pay, about medicine he couldn't afford. But then he thought about all the kids he'd helped over the years, all the scraped knees he'd bandaged, all the tears he'd dried, all the dreams he'd encouraged. I'm content, he said. That's enough for an old janitor. But Elon saw through the words. He saw the loneliness, the struggle, the sacrifice that never ended. He was already forming a plan. A plan so big, so unexpected, that it would shock the world. Mr. Chen, he said, what if I told you that your story was just beginning? Henry laughed, but it sounded tired. Elon, I'm 80 years old. My story is almost over. What if you're wrong? Alan's phone buzzed with messages, reporters wondering where he was, assistants asking about his missed presentation, the world demanding his attention. He turned off his phone. That night, Elon couldn't sleep in his hotel room. He kept thinking about Henry's shaking hands, the medicine bottles in his pocket, the way he winced when he bent over. Something wasn't right. Something was being hidden. At midnight, he called his old friend from high school. Marcus Webb still lived in Kingston, working as a mechanic downtown. Marcus, it's Elon Musk. Holy cow, I saw you were in town. How are you, man? I need to ask you about someone. Do you remember Mr. Chen, the janitor at school? Marcus got quiet. Of course I remember him. Nice guy. Still works there, I think. Why, I saw him today. He's 80 years old and still mopping floors. Something doesn't feel right about it. Elon, there's something you should know. Something my mom told me years ago about Mr. Chen. Elon sat up straight. What kind of something? She worked at the school back then. As a secretary, she knew things about the staff that most people didn't. About Mr. Chen, well, maybe you should talk to her yourself. The next morning, Elon drove to see Patricia Webb, Marcus's mother. She lived in a small house with a garden full of flowers that reminded him of his grandmother's place in South Africa. Patricia was 72 now, retired from her job at the school. Her hair was silver, and her hands were gentle when she hugged him. I remember you, she said, smiling. You were always in trouble, but not the bad kind, the smart kind. They sat in her kitchen. Photos of her grandchildren covered the refrigerator. She made tea and put out cookies that tasted like childhood. Marcus said you wanted to know about Henry Chen. Yes, I'm worried about him. Patricia's face grew serious. Henry Chen is the best man I ever knew. Also the saddest. Sad. Why? His wife died in 1988. Cancer. It broke him in ways that never healed. Elon felt cold. I'm sorry. I didn't know he was married. Linda was her name. Beautiful woman, sweet as sugar. They were so in love it made you believe in fairy tales. Patricia got up and went to a drawer. She pulled out an old envelope, yellow with age. I found this in Henry's desk years later when he was sick with pneumonia. He never sent it, but I kept it. Something told me it was important. The envelope had Ellen's name written in careful handwriting. "What is it?" Elon asked. "A letter. I think you should read it." Ellen's hands shook as he opened the envelope. The paper was thin and fragile. The words were written in blue ink. Some of them smudged like tears had fallen on them. "Dear Elon, by the time you read this, I hope you've made it to the stars. The money I gave you came from my savings for my wife's medicine. I don't regret it. Linda would have understood. She always said that love isn't just about holding on, sometimes it's about letting go so someone else can fly. You were meant for great things. I could see it in your eyes even when you couldn't see it yourself. Every time you got knocked down, you got back up. That's not something you can teach. That's something you're born with. I never told you because I didn't want you to feel guilty. The money was a gift, not a loan. But I want you to know that watching you succeed has been the greatest joy of my life. Every time I see SpaceX on the news, every time Tesla stock goes up, I remember that scared kid in my closet who dreamed of changing the world. You did it, son. You really did it. Your friend Henry Chen. Linda passed away 3 weeks after I gave you the money. She never knew, but I think she would have been proud." The letter fell from Ellen's hands. He couldn't breathe. The room spun around him like a carnival ride. "He gave up his wife's medicine money," Elon whispered. "For me." Patricia nodded, tears in her eyes. $847. Every penny they had saved. "But that means..." Ellen's voice broke. "That means she died because of me." "No," Patricia said firmly. "She died because of cancer. Henry made a choice that came from love, not blame." Elon put his head in his hands. Everything he had built, PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, Mars missions, billions of dollars, all of it started with money that should have saved a woman's life. "I killed her," he sobbed. "You didn't know," Patricia said softly. "Henry never wanted you to know. He wanted you to fly free, without guilt weighing you down. How can I live with this? The same way Henry has lived with it for 37 years, by making it count, by making sure Linda's sacrifice meant something." Elon looked up with red eyes. "Tell me about her, about Linda." Patricia's face lit up. She was a kindergarten teacher, loved children more than anything. She and Henry tried for years to have kids, but it never happened, so she made every student her child. What did she look like? Like sunshine, blonde hair, blue eyes, always smiling. She believed in magic and fairy tales and happy endings. Henry used to say she could make flowers grow just by talking to them, and she really would have wanted him to give me the money. Linda believed that love was meant to be shared. If she knew that Henry's gift would help a boy reach the stars, she would have handed over the money herself. Elon sat quietly for a long time. Outside, birds sang in Patricia's garden. Inside, a clock ticked on the wall like a heartbeat. "Why is he still working at 80? Elon finally asked. "Because he can't afford to stop. His pension barely covers rent. He's been sending money to cancer research for decades. Money here and working night jobs after his day at school." "How much money?" "Over $400,000. Every extra penny he could spare." Ellen's head snapped up. 400,000? How? He worked 3 jobs for 37 years. School janitor during the day, office cleaner at night, weekend work at the hospital. Also, he could donate to cancer research in Linda's memory. And he's still doing this until his body gives out, which might be soon. His heart isn't good. Diabetes, other problems he won't talk about. Elon stood up so fast his chair fell over. "I have to go." "Where?" "To fix this. To make it right." "Elon," Patricia called as he reached the door. "What are you going to do?" He turned back with fire in his eyes. "I'm going to give Henry Chen the life Linda would have wanted him to have." But as he drove away, Elon had no idea that his plan would uncover an even bigger secret. A secret that would change everything he thought he knew about love, loss, and second chances. Elon couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Linda's face in his mind, even though he'd never met her. A kindergarten teacher with blonde hair and blue eyes who died so he could chase his dreams. He paced his hotel room like a caged animal. Every few minutes, he would pick up his phone to call someone, then put it down again. "What do you say? How?" Do you explain that your entire fortune was built on a dying woman's medicine money? Finally, at 3 in the morning, he made a call. Sarah Mitchell Investigations. This is Elon Musk. I need you to find out everything about someone. Everything. Sarah Mitchell was the best private investigator in Canada. She had worked for celebrities, politicians, and billionaires, but she had never heard a voice so desperate. Who do you want me to investigate? Henry Chen, 80 years old, lives in Kingston, Ontario, works as a janitor at Queen's University. Okay, what specifically do you need to know? Everything, where he lives, how he lives, his health, his money, his life. I need to know what his days look like from morning to night. This will take some time. I'll pay double your usual rate if you have answers by tomorrow. Sarah worked through the night. She called contacts at hospitals, banks, and government offices. She drove through Kingston's neighborhoods. She talked to Henry's neighbors, his co-workers, and his doctors. What she found broke her heart. The next afternoon, she met Elon at a coffee shop downtown. She had a thick folder and a grim expression. Mr. Musk, I've been doing this job for 20 years. I've never investigated anyone who made me cry. Tell me. Sarah opened the folder. Inside were photos of a tiny apartment building on the poor side of town. The paint was peeling. The windows were cracked. The front door hung crooked on its hinges. Lives here. Apartment to be. 1 bedroom. No elevator. Rent is $900 a month. She showed him more photos. A living room smaller than most people's closets. A kitchen with a hot plate and a mini fridge. A bathroom with a leaky faucet and moldy tiles. His pension from the school is $1,200 a month. After rent, that leaves him $300 for everything else. Food, medicine, clothes, heat. That's impossible, Elon said. How does he survive? He doesn't just survive. He donates money every month to cancer research. $200 every single month for 37 years. Sarah pulled out bank statements. Pages and pages of deposits and withdrawals, all carefully tracked in Henry's shaky handwriting. He's donated $412,600 total. Money here and working 3 jobs. 3 jobs, day shift at the school, night shift cleaning offices downtown, weekend shifts at Kingston General Hospital. He's been doing this for decades. Elon felt sick. At his age, he finally had to give up the night job last year. His arthritis got too bad, but he still works weekends at the hospital when his body lets him. Sarah's voice got softer. Mr. Musk, there's something else. Something worse. She pulled out medical records, pages of doctor visits, test results, and prescription bills. He has heart disease, diabetes, early signs of kidney failure, high blood pressure, arthritis so bad he can barely hold a mop. Is he getting treatment? He can't afford treatment. He hasn't seen a doctor in 2 years. He buys cheap medicine at the pharmacy, but it's not enough. Ellen's hands clenched into fists. What about insurance? Basic coverage that pays for almost nothing. His prescription costs alone would eat up his entire food budget. Sarah showed him more papers, bills from doctors, notices from collection agencies, warnings about shut-off dates for electricity and heat. He's been hiding his health problems from his supervisors at school. If they knew how sick he really is, they'd force him to retire, but then he'd lose his job and his apartment. Where would he go? Government nursing home. Waiting list is 3 years long. The ones with openings now. Sarah shook her head. You wouldn't put a dog in those places. Elon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, people hurried past on the sidewalk. Normal people with normal problems. None of them carrying the weight of a dead woman's sacrifice. There's more, Sarah said quietly. How can there be more? Sarah pulled out the last section of the folder. Photos of Henry's apartment, taken with a long lens through his window. I watched him for 24 hours. This is what his life looks like. The photos showed Henry's daily routine. Getting up at 5 in the morning, moving slowly because of pain, eating toast for breakfast because it was cheap, walking to work because he couldn't afford a car or bus fare. He talks to himself, Sarah said. Or rather, he talks to someone who isn't there. What do you mean? He has conversations with his dead wife. Every morning, every night. He tells her about his day, About the kids at school. About you. Sarah showed him a photo taken through Henry's bedroom window. Henry sitting on his bed, holding a framed picture of a beautiful blonde woman. He tells Linda about your success, about SpaceX launches and Tesla sales. He's proud of you like you're his own son. Elon couldn't speak. But here's the strangest part, Sarah continued. He has a box under his bed, full of letters. What kind of letters? Letters he writes to Linda every week. Hundreds of them, 37 years worth. He writes them like she's still alive, like she might read them someday. Sarah pulled out photocopies of some letters. Henry's careful handwriting filled page after page. My dearest Linda, Elon was on the news again today. SpaceX launched another rocket. I cried watching it, thinking about how proud you would be. Our investment paid off, sweetheart. That scared boy became a man who touches the stars. I miss you every day. I know you're watching from heaven, but I wish you were here to see what love can do. Forever yours, Henry. He's been writing to a dead woman for 37 years, Sarah said. Living like a monk, giving away everything he has, all because he believes Linda would want him to help others. Elon sat down hard. What kind of man does that? The kind of man who loves so deeply that death can't stop it. Sarah closed the folder. Mr. Musk, what are you planning to do? I'm going to save him, Elon said, the way he saved me. But as he spoke those words, Sarah's phone rang. She looked at the caller ID and frowned. It's my contact at Kingston General Hospital. She answered the phone and listened for a moment. Her face went white. Mr. Musk, she said after hanging up, we may be too late. What do you mean? Henry Chen collapsed at work this morning. He's in the emergency room right now. Elon jumped up so fast his chair fell over. Which hospital? Kingston General. But Mr. Musk, Elon was already running. He left the coffee shop without another word, jumped in his Tesla, and raced through the streets of Kingston. His hands shook on the steering wheel. What if he was too late? What if Henry died before Elon could make things right? At the hospital, Elon burst through the emergency room doors. The nurse at the front desk looked up in surprise. I'm here to see Henry Chen. He was brought in this morning. Are you family? I'm Elon paused. What was he? A former student, a billionaire who owed his fortune to Henry's sacrifice. I'm his son. It was a lie, but it felt true. The nurse checked her computer. Room 314, third floor. Elon found Henry lying in a narrow hospital bed, looking smaller than ever. Machines beeped around him. Tubes ran from his arms. His skin was gray like old paper, but his eyes were open. And when he saw Elon, he smiled. You came, Henry whispered. Of course I came. Elon pulled a chair close to the bed. How are you feeling? Like an old man who worked too hard for too long. Henry tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. The doctor came in. Dr. Jennifer Martinez, according to her name tag. She was young, but looked tired. Double quotes Mr. Chen's family. She asked Elon. Yes, Elon lied again. Can we talk outside? In the hallway. Dr. Martinez didn't hold back. Your father is very sick. His heart is weak. His kidneys are failing. He's malnourished and exhausted. Will he be okay? That depends. He needs surgery. Heart surgery to put in a pacemaker. But she looked uncomfortable. But what? He doesn't have insurance that covers this kind of surgery. It would cost about $50,000. Elon almost laughed. $50,000. He made that much money in 10 minutes. I'll pay for it, he said. Dr. Martinez looked surprised. All of it. All of it. Whatever he needs. The best doctors, the best treatment. Everything. Mr. Musk. Elon Musk. Her eyes went wide. The Elon Musk. Tesla. SpaceX. Yes. And Henry Chen is the most important person in my life. Back in the room, Henry was staring at the ceiling. Elon sat down beside him. The doctor says you need surgery. I can't afford surgery. Henry said quietly. Guess this is it for me? No, it's not. I'm paying for everything. Henry turned to look at him. Elon, you can't. I can and I will. But first, I need to tell you something. Henry listened as Elon explained about finding the letter, about learning the truth about the $847, about Linda's medicine money. When Elon finished, Henry was crying. You Weren't supposed to know, Henry whispered. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to fly free. Without guilt. Without feeling like you owed me anything. But I do owe you everything. Henry said firmly. Linda and I made a choice made from love. You don't owe us anything. You gave us the greatest gift possible. What gift? You made our sacrifice mean something. Every rocket you launch, every car you build, every dream you make real, that's Linda's legacy. That's our love reaching the stars. Elon wiped his eyes. I want to do something for you. Something big. You already did. You became everything we hoped you'd become. No, I mean something else. Something that will honor you and Linda properly. Henry looked curious. What are you thinking? Elon took a deep breath. I want to take you to space. Henry stared at him. What? I want you to be my guest on a SpaceX mission. I want you to see Earth from space. I want you to touch the stars that Linda helped you give me. Henry's heart monitor started beeping faster. Elon, I'm 80 years old. I'm sick. I can barely walk to the bathroom. We'll get you healthy first. The best doctors in the world. Whatever it takes. But why? Why would you do something so crazy? Because 37 years ago, a janitor saw something in a scared kid that the kid couldn't see in himself. Because that janitor and his wife gave up everything so that kid could dream. And because every time I look at the stars, I think about love that's stronger than death. Henry was sobbing now. She would have loved this. She would have been so excited. She'll be there with us. Elon said, every step of the way. Are you serious? Really serious. Dead serious. But it's not just about the space trip. I want to hire you to hire me. To do what? To be SpaceX's Chief Inspiration Officer. Your job will be to tell your story. To remind young people that dreams are worth fighting for. That kindness is more powerful than cruelty. Henry shook his head in amazement. From janitor to astronaut. Linda always said life was full of surprises. So you'll do it? Henry thought for a moment. About Linda. About the scared boy he found in his closet. About all the dreams that seemed impossible until they came true. Yes, he whispered. Let's go to space. Elon smiled and pulled out his phone. I need to make some calls. We have work to do. As he dialed, Henry closed his eyes and spoke to the ceiling. Did you hear that, Linda? We're going to the stars. Just like we always dreamed. The heart monitor beeped steadily. The machines hummed softly. And somewhere in the room, love that had waited 37 years to be understood finally found its way home. 3 days later, Henry was feeling stronger. The doctors had stabilized his heart and started him on new medicines. His color was better. His breathing was easier. But the real change was in his eyes. For the first time in decades, they held hope. Elon had been busy. Very busy. He flew his private jet to California and back twice. He made dozens of phone calls. He met with lawyers, doctors, and engineers. He was putting together the most important team of his life. On Thursday morning, he returned to Kingston with 2 very special people. Henry, I want you to meet Dr. Amanda Foster. She's SpaceX's Chief Medical Officer. Dr. Foster was a small woman. With kind eyes and a firm handshake, she had flown astronauts to the International Space Station 12 times. She knew everything about keeping people healthy in space. And this is James Park. He's going to make a movie about your story. James was young and excited. He carried cameras and notebooks everywhere. He wanted to record every moment of Henry's journey. A movie? Henry asked from his hospital bed. About me. About love. Elon corrected. About sacrifice. About dreams that come true when people believe in each other. Dr. Foster pulled up a chair. Henry, I need to be honest with you. Space travel is dangerous, even for healthy young people. You're 80 years old with heart problems. Are you sure you want to do this? Henry thought about Linda. About the scared boy in his janitor's closet. About all the nights he'd looked up at the stars and wondered what it would be like to touch them. I'm sure, he said. It won't be easy. We'll need to get you in much better shape first. Months of training, exercise, diet changes, medical treatments. How long will it take? 6 months minimum. Maybe more. Henry's face fell. 6 months. What? Elon asked. What if I don't have 6 months? Dr. Foster leaned forward. Henry, with proper care, you could have 6 years. Maybe more. Your problems are serious but treatable. You've been living like this because you couldn't afford help. But that's over now. James turned on his camera. Henry, can you tell us what you're thinking right now? Henry looked at the camera, then at Elon, then back at the camera. I'm thinking about my wife. Linda always said that life was like a book. Just because one chapter ends doesn't mean the story is over. What chapter is this? James asked. The best one yet? Over the next week, Elon put his plan into action, but he did it quietly. Secretly, Henry didn't know about most of it. First, Elon bought the apartment building where Henry lived. He didn't change anything on the outside, but he paid off all the repairs, fixed the heat, replaced the windows, made sure Henry would never have to worry about rent again. Second, he set up a medical fund that would pay for Henry's health care for the rest of his life, the best doctors, the best hospitals, whatever Henry needed. Third, he started planning the space mission, not just any mission, a special one. I want to name the rocket after Linda, Elon told his team at SpaceX headquarters in California. The Linda Chen, the first rocket named after a kindergarten teacher. His engineers loved the idea. They started designing a special plaque that would carry Linda and Henry's story into space. But Elon wasn't done. I want this to be the most watched space launch in history, he told his publicity team. I want every kid in the world to know Henry's story. I want them to understand that kindness is more powerful than rockets. The story started leaking out slowly, first on social media, then blogs, then major news websites. Billionaire to take 80-year-old janitor to space, the love story that built SpaceX from mop bucket to a rocket ship. The Henry Chen story within days. It was the biggest story in the world. People magazine wanted to put Henry on their cover. Netflix offered millions for the movie rights. Talk shows begged for interviews. But Henry didn't care about fame. He cared about the letters. They came from everywhere. Kids who were being bullied, adults who had given up on their dreams, families dealing with cancer, people who needed to believe that love was stronger than hate. Dear Mr. Chen, one letter read, I'm 12 years old, and kids at school make fun of me because I want to be a scientist. Your story made me realize that the people who believe in us are sometimes the ones we least expect. Thank you for believing in Elon. Now I believe in myself. Henry, read every letter. His new apartment walls were covered with pictures drawn by children from around the world. Rockets and stars and hearts with wings. This is better than going to space, he told Elon during one of their daily visits. These kids are my real mission. What do you mean? Every letter tells me that love multiplies. Linda's love became your success. Your success became my story. My story is becoming their hope. Love doesn't die, Elon. It just grows. Dr. Foster had been working with Henry every day. Physical therapy, new medicines, a special diet. Slowly but surely, Henry was getting stronger. How's he doing? Elon asked her privately. Better than I expected. His heart is responding well to treatment. His diabetes is under control. He's lost 20 pounds and gained muscle. If this keeps up, he might actually be healthy enough for space travel. Might. There are no guarantees, Elon. Space is dangerous. His age makes everything riskier. But you think it's possible? Dr. Foster smiled. A year ago, I would have said no, but watching Henry these past few weeks, love is powerful medicine. I've never seen someone heal so fast. That night, Elon called Henry with news that made the old man cry with joy. Pack your bags, Elon said. We're moving you to Texas. It's time to start astronaut training. Henry stared at the phone. Astronaut training, for me, for you. The van will pick you up tomorrow morning. The next 6 months changed Henry Chen's life completely. Elon moved Henry to a beautiful apartment in Austin, Texas, near SpaceX's training center. It had big windows that looked out over green hills. The kitchen was bigger than Henry's old entire apartment, but the best part was the walls. They were covered with photos of Linda, pictures Henry hadn't seen in years, blown up and put in fancy frames. Linda at their wedding, laughing in the sunshine. Linda in her kindergarten classroom, surrounded by smiling children. Linda and Henry on their honeymoon, young and full of dreams. "How did you get these?" Henry asked, wiping his eyes. "I hired someone to find them," Elon said. "I thought Linda should be here with you." Every morning, Henry woke up and said good morning to Linda's pictures. Every night, he told her about his day. For the first time since she died, he felt like she was really there. Dr. Foster put together a team of the world's best doctors. They fixed Henry's heart with a surgery that didn't exist when Linda was sick. They gave him new medicine for his diabetes that worked like magic. They helped his bones get stronger with therapy that felt more like play than work. "I feel like I'm 60 again," Henry told Elon during one of their weekly dinners. But the real change was in Henry's spirit. For 37 years, he had lived for other people, working, donating, helping, but never hoping for himself. For the first time since Linda died, Henry had something to look forward to. The astronaut training was hard but fun. Henry learned about rockets and gravity and life in space. He practiced floating in a special pool. He spun in machines that made him dizzy. He ate space food that tasted like cardboard. "This is harder than mopping floors," he joked to his trainers. But Henry was tough. 45 years of manual labor had made his body strong, and love had made his heart stronger. James Park's cameras followed Henry everywhere. Henry learning to put on a spacesuit. Henry practicing walking in low gravity. Henry recording video messages for children around the world. "Dreams don't have age limits," Henry said to one camera. "I'm 80 years old, and I'm training to be an astronaut. If I can do this, you can do anything." The story grew bigger every week. Social media exploded with videos of Henry floating in the training pool. News shows did special reports about the janitor who was going to space. #HenryToSpace became the most popular hashtag in the world, but Henry didn't care about being famous. He cared about the letters. They came from every country on Earth. Kids who were being bullied like Elon was. Grandparents who thought their dreams were over. Cancer patients who needed hope. People who had forgotten how to believe in miracles. Henry answered every letter. His apartment walls were covered with drawings from children. Rockets with hearts for windows. Stars that looked like flowers. Pictures of Henry and Linda floating in space together. "Look at this one." Henry showed Elon a letter from a girl in Japan. She says she wants to be an astronaut too. Her parents told her she was too small, but after seeing my story, they signed her up for science camp. "Your story is changing the world," Elon said. Linda's story, Henry corrected. "I'm just the messenger." 3 months into training, something wonderful happened. The President of the United States called Henry personally. "Mr. Chen, I wanted to thank you for reminding America that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. I'm not a hero, Mr. President. I'm just a janitor who got lucky." "No, sir. You're proof that love is the most powerful force in the universe." But the best surprise came from Elon. One day, he took Henry to the SpaceX factory in Texas. They walked past the engineers and the computers and the giant rockets being built. They stopped at a door marked private. "What's in there?" Henry asked. "Your new office." Inside was a beautiful room with a big desk and comfortable chairs. Computer screens showed SpaceX missions happening around the world. But the best part was the sign on the desk, Henry Chen, Chief Inspiration Officer. "This is really my job?" Henry asked, touching the sign with shaking fingers. "Your job is to tell your story, to visit schools and talk to kids who need hope, to remind all of us why we reach for the stars." Henry sat in his new chair and looked around his office. On the walls were photos of every SpaceX mission, but in the center was the biggest photo of all. Linda in her wedding dress, smiling like she knew this day would come. "I don't have a college degree," Henry said. "I don't know anything about business." "You know about something more important," Elon replied. "You know about love." As the months passed, Henry got stronger and healthier. His heart was fixed. His diabetes was controlled. He could walk without pain for the first time in years. But more than his body healed, his soul did too. "I used to think my life was over when Linda died," he told Dr. Foster during a checkup. "Now I think it was just beginning." What changed? I learned that love doesn't end when someone dies. It just finds new ways to grow. 2 weeks before the space launch, Henry got the best news of all. Dr. Foster announced that he was healthy enough for the mission. Your heart is strong. Your blood pressure is perfect. Your bones are solid, Henry. You're in better shape than most 50-year-olds. That night, Henry sat in his apartment looking at Linda's pictures. Tomorrow, he would fly to Florida for the final preparations. In 2 weeks, he would be in space. We're really going to do it, sweetheart, he whispered to her photo. We're going to touch the stars together. On his bedside table was a letter that arrived that morning. It was from a boy in Kingston, Ontario. A boy who was being bullied at the same school where Henry used to work. Dear Mr. Chen, my name is Tyler. I'm 16 and kids at school beat me up every day. They say I'm stupid for wanting to build rockets. But then I heard your story about how you helped Elon when he was like me. Now I don't feel so alone. Thank you for showing me that someone always believes in us. Even when we can't see them. I'll be watching when you go to space. And I'll be dreaming of going there myself someday. Love, Tyler Williamson refolded the letter carefully and put it in his pocket. Tomorrow he would call Tyler. Maybe invite him to watch the launch. Maybe show him that dreams really do come true. As he fell asleep, Henry thought about the scared boy Elon used to be, about Linda's sacrifice, about love that travels from one heart to another, growing stronger with each stop. In 2 weeks, he would be in space. But tonight, he was already flying. Launch day arrived on a perfect October morning in 2025. The sky over Kennedy Space Center was clear blue. The wind was calm. The whole world was watching. Henry woke up at 4 in the morning in his quarters. At the Space Center, he'd been dreaming about Linda. In the dream, she was young again, wearing her white wedding dress, telling him not to be scared. We're going to space today, sweetheart, he whispered to her photo on his nightstand. Just like we dreamed when we were young. The crew for this mission was very special. Besides Elon and Henry, there were 2 other passengers. Dr. Maria Santos, a cancer researcher whose work was funded by Henry's donations over the years, and Tyler Williams, the 16-year-old boy from Kingston who had written to Henry. When Elon read Tyler's letter, he knew what to do. He called the boy's parents and invited Tyler to join the mission. This is what it's all about, Elon told the cameras. 3 generations connected by dreams and kindness. Tyler couldn't believe it. Just like young Elon, he was a shy kid who got picked on at school. But now he was going to space with his heroes. Mr. Chen saved Mr. Musk, Tyler told reporters. Mr. Musk saved Mr. Chen, and now they're both saving me. Around the world, 2 billion people were getting ready to watch the launch. In Kingston, the entire Queen's University gathered in the gymnasium where Henry used to mop floors. Students and teachers filled the bleachers, cheering and crying at the same time. The principal stood at the microphone. Henry Chen worked in this building for 45 years. He cleaned our floors, fixed our problems, and believed in our dreams. Today, he's showing us that it's never too late to reach for the stars. In hospitals everywhere, cancer patients and their families gathered around TV screens. They saw proof that love is stronger than death, that sacrifice creates miracles. At 10 in the morning, the crew walked to the rocket. Henry moved carefully, but confidently. His face glowed with joy. He was wearing a special patch on his spacesuit, a picture of Linda with the words "Love takes flight." The rocket was beautiful, white and silver, reaching toward the sky like a prayer. On the side, in blue letters, was its name, the Linda Chen. Look, sweetheart, Henry said to the sky. They named a rocket after you. In the capsule, Henry sat next to Elon. They were strapped in tight, surrounded by buttons and screens. Henry's heart was beating fast, but Dr. Foster said it was excitement, not fear. How are you feeling? Elon asked. Like I'm about to meet Linda again, Henry said, not to join her, but to show her what love can do. The countdown began. Mission Control's voice filled the capsule. 10, 9, 8 around the world. People stopped what they were doing. In restaurants, everyone stared at the TV screens. On highways, cars pulled over so people could watch on their phones. In classrooms, teachers turned on the news. 7:05 in Kingston. The school gymnasium was silent except for quiet crying. These were happy tears, proud tears. Tears for a janitor who had touched the stars. 4:32 Henry closed his eyes and thought about the scared boy he found in his closet 38 years ago. That boy was now taking him to space. One liftoff. The rocket roared to life like a giant dragon. Fire and smoke erupted from the bottom. The ground shook for miles. The Linda Chen rose slowly at first, then faster and faster, carrying four dreamers toward the stars. Inside the capsule, Henry felt like he was being squeezed by a giant hand. The G-forces pressed him deep into his seat, but he was smiling, actually smiling as he flew toward space. "We're doing it, Linda," he shouted over the noise. "We're really doing it." 8 minutes later, the engines shut off. Suddenly, everything was quiet, peaceful. They were floating. Henry looked out the window and gasped out Earth spun below them like a blue and white marble. He could see continents and oceans and clouds that looked like Linda's hair on a windy day. Cities twinkled like stars. The atmosphere was a thin blue line protecting everything he'd ever loved. "Oh my," he whispered. "Oh my goodness." Elon unbuckled his seatbelt and floated over to Henry. He helped the old man out of his seat. Henry floated in zero gravity for the first time. Laughing like a child, "I can fly," he shouted. "Linda, I can fly." Tyler was floating too, doing somersaults in the air. "This is the best day of my life." Dr. Santos was crying happy tears. "Henry, your donations helped fund the research that cured my daughter's cancer. Thank you for never giving up hope." James Park's cameras captured every moment. Henry floating through the capsule, his white hair standing up in all directions. Henry pressing his face against the window, crying as he watched the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean. "Tell them," Elon said to the camera. "Tell everyone watching what you're thinking." Henry looked straight into the lens. His eyes were bright with wonder. "Dreams don't have expiration dates," he said. "I'm 80 years old, and I'm in space. If I can do this, you can do anything. Love is the rocket fuel that makes everything possible." They spent 3 days in orbit, 3 days of Henry experiencing wonder he never imagined. 3 days of the world watching and crying and believing in miracles again. On the second day, something magical happened. The International Space Station passed nearby. The astronauts on board had been following Henry's story. They held up signs in their windows that spelled out "Thank you, Henry and Linda." Henry cried so hard he had to wipe his eyes with his sleeve. "They know about Linda," he whispered to Elon. "The whole universe knows about Linda," Elon replied. Henry spent hours looking at Earth through the window. He saw no borders from space, no rich countries or poor countries. Just one beautiful planet where 8 billion people were trying to figure out how to love each other. "It's all one family down there," he told the camera. "One big family that needs to take care of each other." On the third day, Henry did something that made everyone cry. He pulled out a letter from his pocket. It was one of the letters he used to write to Linda every week. "My dearest Linda," he read to the camera, "we made it to space. We're floating among the stars we used to watch from our backyard. I can see Earth spinning below us, and it's more beautiful than we ever dreamed. I know you're here with me. I can feel your love in every ray of sunlight." He held the letter up to the window, letting Earth's light shine through it. "This is for every person who thinks love dies when someone leaves us. It doesn't die. It just learns to fly." Then came the scariest part. Going home. Re-entry is the most dangerous part of any space mission, Dr. Foster explained to the cameras. The capsule will heat up to thousands of degrees as it hits Earth's atmosphere. "We'll be going 25,000 miles per hour." Henry wasn't scared. "If I can survive 45 years of mopping floors, I can survive coming home from space." But as they prepared for re-entry, everyone was thinking the same thing. What if something went wrong? What if Henry's old heart couldn't handle the stress? What if the greatest love story ever told ended in tragedy? The capsule began to shake. As it hit the atmosphere, outside the windows, the world turned orange with heat. Henry closed his eyes and held Tyler's hand. "Don't worry," he told the boy. "Love always finds a way home." The capsule screamed through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Fire danced outside the windows. The whole ship shook like it was coming apart. Inside, Henry was strapped in tight. His eyes closed, his lips moving in silent prayer. Tyler squeezed Henry's hand. "Are we going to be okay? We're already okay," Henry whispered. "We touched the stars. Everything else is just extra." The parachutes opened with a loud bang. Then another bang as the backup chutes deployed. The capsule swayed back and forth like a baby's cradle. The violent shaking stopped. Now they were floating down gently toward the ocean. "Parachutes are good," Dr. Foster said into her radio. All crew members responding normally. Henry opened his eyes and smiled. "Linda, we made it home." The capsule hit the Atlantic Ocean with a huge splash. Recovery ships were waiting nearby. Divers jumped into the water to secure the spacecraft. Within 30 minutes, Henry Chen was back on solid ground. The first 80-year-old janitor to ever see Earth from space. The world went completely crazy. The landing was broadcast live to over 2 billion people. Social media exploded with videos of Henry floating in zero gravity. #Henry in space became the most used hashtag in internet history. People in every country were crying happy tears. But the real celebration happened back in Kingston. The entire town gathered at Queen's University for Henry's homecoming party. The same gymnasium where he used to mop floors was now filled with reporters, government officials, and hundreds of people whose lives Henry had touched. The Prime Minister of Canada flew in from Ottawa. The President of the United States sent a video message. Movie stars and famous athletes posted tributes online. But Henry only had eyes for one group of people. The children from the cancer ward at Kingston General Hospital. They sat in the front row, some in wheelchairs, some bald from treatments, all of them smiling like Christmas morning. "I went to space for you," Henry told them, his voice shaking with emotion, "to prove that miracles are real, to show you that love is stronger than any sickness." The children cheered and cried. Their parents cried too. In the back of the room, doctors and nurses wiped their eyes with tissues. James Park's cameras captured everything. Henry hugging the children. Henry showing them pictures of Earth from space. Henry telling them that every star they see at night is a reminder that impossible things happen every day. But there was one more surprise. The biggest surprise of all. Elon stood up at the microphone. The crowd grew quiet. You could hear a pin drop. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. When we were in space, Henry and I had a lot of time to talk. He told me something that I think you all need to hear." Henry looked confused. They hadn't talked about any announcements. "Henry, would you like to tell them, or should I tell them what?" Henry asked. Elon smiled. "About the fund." Henry's face turned bright red. "Elon, no, that's private. Not anymore." Elon turned to the crowd. "For 38 years. Henry Chen has been donating money to children's cancer research. Money he earned mopping floors and cleaning offices. Over $400,000 of his own money, given $1 at a time." The crowd gasped. Henry tried to hide behind his hands like a shy child. "But here's the secret he never told anyone," Elon continued. 3 weeks ago, Henry asked me to do something with the money I was going to pay him for this space trip. He asked me to donate it all to cancer research." The crowd started crying again. Henry was crying too. Even the tough newspaper reporters were wiping their eyes. "So, I'm announcing the Linda and Henry Chen Foundation for Pediatric Cancer Research. We're starting with a $50 million donation from SpaceX and Tesla. But more importantly, we're starting with the love of a man who gave everything so others could dream." The crowd exploded in applause. It went on for 10 minutes. People stood up, they cheered, they whistled. Henry couldn't stop crying. But there was one final surprise. The surprise that would change everything. A woman in a wheelchair was brought to the front of the crowd. She was thin and frail, but her eyes were bright and familiar. She had silver hair and a gentle smile. Henry's face turned white as snow. His hands started shaking. "It can't be," he whispered. The woman looked up at him from her wheelchair. "Hello, Henry." The gymnasium fell completely silent. Not a cough, not a whisper. 2,000 people holding their breath thought it was Linda. Linda Chen, the wife who was supposed to have died 38 years ago. "Linda," Henry's voice cracked like a broken bell. But you died 38 years ago. I held your hand when I buried you." Linda's eyes filled with tears. I never died, Henry. I got better. Henry collapsed into a chair. The crowd was frozen in shock. Ellen's mouth hung open. Even James Park forgot to keep filming. How? Henry whispered. How is this possible? The experimental treatment worked, Linda said softly. But it required me to leave for 6 months. No contact with anyone. When I came back, her voice broke. When I came back, you were gone. The truth came out in pieces. Like a puzzle being solved by shaking hands. In 1988, Linda had qualified for a new cancer treatment, but it meant living in isolation for months. No visitors, no phone calls. By the time she was healthy enough to come home, Henry had moved away, thinking she was dead. I looked for you everywhere, Linda said. But you had changed your name. You disappeared. Henry had been so broken by Linda's death that he couldn't stay in Kingston. He moved to different cities, running from the pain. By the time he returned years later, Linda had given up searching. I remarried, Linda said quietly. I thought you had moved on too. My husband died 5 years ago. But the grave, Henry said. I visit your grave every year. That's my mother's grave, Linda explained. She died the same week I got sick. You were so upset. You mixed up the names. 38 years of grief. 38 years of guilt. 38 years of loneliness. All based on a terrible misunderstanding. The crowd was sobbing. Elon was sobbing. Even the security guards had tears in their eyes. I gave away our savings, Henry whispered. I gave away your medicine money to help a boy achieve his dreams. No, Linda said. And I'm proud of you. That's exactly what I would have wanted you to do. Henry fell to his knees in front of Linda's wheelchair. His whole body was shaking. 38 years of pain poured out of him like water from a broken dam. I thought I killed you, he sobbed. I thought I chose a stranger's dreams over your life. Linda reached out and touched his face with trembling fingers. Sweet Henry, you didn't kill anyone. You saved everyone. The crowd in the gymnasium watched in complete silence. This was bigger than space travel. This was bigger than rockets and fame and money. This was love defeating death itself. But how? Henry asked through his tears. How did you find me? I saw you on the news, Linda said softly. Go into space with Elon Musk. I recognized your face immediately. You haven't changed, Henry. You're still the man who would give up everything for love. The truth came out slowly, like sunrise after the longest night. In 1988, Linda's cancer treatment had worked like a miracle, but the rules were strict. 6 months in complete isolation. No phone calls, no letters, no visitors. The doctors were afraid any contact might bring germs that could kill her weak immune system. When Linda finally came home, healthy and excited to rebuild her life, Henry was gone. Their apartment was empty. The landlord said Henry had moved away without leaving an address. I searched everywhere, Linda said. I hired private detectives. I put ads in newspapers. But you had changed your last name after we married. The records were confusing. Henry had been so destroyed by Linda's death that he couldn't bear to stay in Kingston. He moved to Ottawa, then Montreal, then Toronto. He was running from memories that hurt too much to face. I came back to Kingston 5 years later, he said. But by then I had married someone else, Linda finished. Robert was a good man. He helped me through the loneliness. But I never stopped loving you, Henry. Not for one single day. The crowd was crying openly now. Reporters were supposed to stay professional, but they couldn't stop the tears. Even the camera operators were wiping their eyes. Robert died 5 years ago, Linda continued. Cancer, just like I had. But this time, the treatments didn't work. I'm sorry, Henry whispered. He understood about you. I told him everything. About our love, about your sacrifice, about how I never stopped looking for you. In the end, he made me promise to keep searching. Linda pulled a folded newspaper clipping from her purse. It was the first article about Henry going to space. His picture was circled in red ink. I saw this and knew it was you immediately. Same kind eyes, same gentle smile. I called the reporter and begged them to help me find you. But why didn't you come sooner? Why wait until now? Linda looked down at her wheelchair. Because I'm sick again, Henry. The cancer came back 3 years ago. I wanted to find you, but I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid you had moved on. Afraid you were happy without me. Afraid that seeing me sick and old would ruin your memories of when I was young and beautiful. Henry took her hands in his. They were thin and cold, but they were the same hands he had held on their wedding day. "You're still beautiful," he said. "You're still my Linda." "I'm not the woman you married, Henry. I'm old and sick and broken." "So am I," Henry said, laughing through his tears. "Look at us, two old people who thought they'd lost everything. But we didn't lose anything. We just misplaced it for a while." Elon stepped forward with tears streaming down his face. "Linda, do you understand what Henry did with your medicine money? I know he helped you achieve your dreams. He didn't just help me. He changed the world. PayPal revolutionized banking. Tesla is saving the environment. SpaceX is taking humanity to Mars. All of it started with your medicine money." Linda smiled. "Then it was money well spent. But there's more," Elon said. "Henry has been donating to cancer research for 38 years. Over $400,000. Money here and working 3 jobs, living like a monk, all because he felt guilty about your death." "You gave away $400,000, Linda asked. "I had to," Henry said. "Every dollar I donated felt like a prayer for your forgiveness." "Henry, I forgave you before you ever did anything wrong." The crowd erupted in applause. People were standing and cheering and crying all at the same time. This wasn't just a love story anymore. It was proof that miracles are real. Henry looked up at Linda with wonder in his eyes. "Will you marry me?" Again, Linda laughed through her tears. "I never stopped being married to you, Henry Chen." Elon wiped his eyes and stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have one more announcement. SpaceX will pay for the most beautiful wedding in history, the first wedding ever performed in space." The crowd went completely wild, but Henry and Linda weren't listening to the cheers. They only had eyes for each other. "I love you," Henry whispered. "I love you too," Linda whispered back. "I always have, I always will." They held each other as tightly as two people in their 80s could hold anything around them. The world celebrated the greatest love story ever told. Henry's sacrifice had led to his greatest reward. Love doesn't die. It just gets lost sometimes. And sometimes, it takes a rocket ship to bring it home. In the back of the gymnasium, Tyler Williams was crying happy tears. He had learned that bullies don't get the last word. That kindness is stronger than cruelty. That dreams really do come true when people believe in each other. The scared boy in the janitor's closet had become a man who touched the stars. The dying woman had lived to see love conquer everything. The lonely janitor had found his way back to paradise. And somewhere in the universe, every star was shining a little brighter because Henry and Linda Chen were together again. That was the end of this incredible journey of love, sacrifice, and second chances. Henry and Linda Chen's reunion reminds us that miracles can happen when we least expect them, and that kindness creates ripples that last for generations. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment and tell us your city or country. If this touched your heart, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content like this. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. In a world that often feels divided, we all need reminders that love is stronger than loss, that dreams have no expiration date, and that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Spread the message of hope and kindness. Someone in your circle might need to hear Henry's words today. Dreams don't have age limits. If I can do this, you can do anything. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars.